"Get out of my lobby. This place isn't for your kind." The words didn't slip out by accident. They were delivered like policy, loud, certain, and rehearsed. Marcus Holt, manager of the Horizon Luxe Hotel in downtown Seattle, stood behind the front desk with his arms crossed and judgment written all over his face. He wasn't whispering. He wasn't hiding. He said it so the entire lobby could hear. He looked right at her, at the black woman in plain clothes, and decided right then and there that she didn't belong. What he didn't know was that in exactly 12 minutes, the woman standing in front of him would fire him and every single member of his team right there in the very lobby where he had just tried to humiliate her. Before we get into this, tell me where you're watching from. Comment your city below. And if this moment stopped you in your tracks the way it did the guests around her, hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. Now, let's rewind to how this moment started. Dr. Maya Ellison walked through the glass doors of the Horizon Luxe Hotel alone. No assistant, no designer purse, no brand labels, just a gray hoodie, fitted jeans, and calm eyes that had seen this scenario before. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the marble floor, but her presence sent a ripple through the lobby. She approached the front desk. Behind it stood Marcus Holt, 45, flanked by two clerks, Sarah Bennett, 29, with a tight ponytail and a clipboard she clutched like a shield, and Tyler Nguyen, 26, whose nervous energy showed in his twitching fingers. None of them greeted her. None of them smiled. They just looked her up and down like a problem waiting to happen. "I have a reservation," Maya said evenly. "Penthouse suite. The name's Ellison." Marcus squinted at her like he misheard. "That's a very high-tier room. Are you sure you booked the right hotel?" Maya didn't answer the insult. She calmly slid her ID and a black Horizon Elite card across the counter. Marcus picked them up with 2 fingers, holding the card like it might be contaminated. "Strange," he muttered. "This looks suspicious." Sarah pressed a button on the desk. Her voice rang out over the intercom. "Security. We may have an unauthorized guest trying to access one of our premium suites. Possibly fraudulent." Maya's expression didn't change. Her voice stayed low. "I'm not here for trouble. I'm here for my room." Tyler scoffed. "You know, people try this all the time. Fancy cards they found. Fake names, usually hoping we won't check." From across the room, Jamal Carter, a 34-year-old tech consultant from Chicago, had already raised his phone. "I'm filming this," he whispered to his colleague Priya Sharma, 31, then louder. "This is being posted. People need to see this." Priya started live streaming. "We're at the Horizon Luxe in Seattle," she narrated, "and we're watching something ugly happen in real time." Daniela Ortiz, the young concierge standing off to the side, glanced up from her podium. Her eyes met Maya's. Something passed between them. Silent, swift recognition, maybe, or concern. Daniela took a step forward, but Marcus cut her off with a glance. "She doesn't belong here," he snapped. Maya took out her phone and sent a silent tap. On the other end, in a corporate office 3 blocks away, her executive assistant, Jade Thompson, picked up immediately. "It's happening," Maya said quietly. Jade didn't hesitate. "The system's ready." Marcus still held her card, flipping it like he was waiting for it to confess something. "You know," he said louder this time, "we've seen this scam before. People come in, claim to have bookings, flash a high-limit card, and disappear the second we call the bank. Well, not this time." He turned to Tyler and handed him the card. "Lock it up." Tyler took it eagerly and walked to a small cabinet. He opened a drawer behind the desk, revealing a brushed steel safe with exaggerated care. He placed the card inside and slammed the door shut. "You're done here," he said with a smirk. Jamal, filming, exclaimed, "They just took her card." Priya stepped closer. "That's theft. That's not policy." Maya didn't move. Her voice stayed calm. You're going to regret this. At 22, Maya had walked into a boutique hotel in Atlanta after a red-eye flight. She was dressed in sweats, exhausted from classes, and had a confirmed reservation. The man at the desk looked her up and down and said, "You don't look like someone who'd stay here." He told her the system was down and she could come back when the manager was around. She slept in her car that night. The next morning, she began outlining a business plan that would grow into Horizon Hospitality Group, one of the largest hotel chains in the country. Now, standing in a lobby she owned, the same tone, the same assumption, the same kind of man tried to erase her again. Marcus leaned forward. "Your reservation's cancelled. We don't tolerate deception. You're holding up real guests." Maya didn't flinch. "You mean the ones watching this right now?" She gestured toward Jamal and Priya, who were still filming. Other guests had stopped what they were doing. Some were staring. Some were whispering. Some were clearly uncomfortable. Daniela looked on, jaw tight. Sarah stepped in. "You need to leave now." Maya held her gaze. "Are you sure?" Sarah's tone dripped with confidence. "Positive, or we'll call the authorities." Marcus smirked. "Go ahead, make a scene. It won't end well for you." Maya didn't blink. "That's the last time you speak to me like that." Daniela finally stepped forward. "She's right. I saw her name in our system this morning. Her reservation is valid." Marcus turned to her sharply. "One more word, and you're gone too." Maya reached for her phone again. This time her voice was louder. "Jade, log this moment. Lock in the video timestamps." Jade's voice came through clearly. "Log. Systems ready." Jamal leaned toward the front desk, pointing to the card through the safe's glass window. "It says Ellison VIP. It's real." "She's real." Marcus scoffed. "Anyone can make a fake card. People like her." Maya interrupted. "Finish that sentence." "Go on." But he didn't. The words died in his throat as he noticed the growing circle of eyes around them. Maya stepped forward, calm, controlled, but every syllable carried weight. "You've just made the worst mistake of your professional life," she said. Marcus smiled like he still held power. "You think so?" She stared into him. "No, I know so." As the tension gripped the lobby like a tightening noose, no one, not Marcus, not Sarah, not Tyler, had any idea who she truly was. But they were about to find out. Tyler's voice rang out across the lobby with forced authority, holding up the small silver key to the safe like it was a trophy. "This card is now company property," he declared. "And until the bank verifies it, you're not getting it back." He grinned, smug, performative, sure of himself. But Tyler didn't see the storm he just invited. Maya stood unwavering. Her face was unreadable, her silence more commanding than any outburst. Marcus leaned in again, eyes flicking toward the slowly growing crowd. "You're wasting everyone's time," he said. "Walk out now, or we'll make that choice for you." That's when Sarah, emboldened by Marcus's backing and Tyler's theatrics, stepped out from behind the desk, straightened her blazer, and reached for Maya's arm. "You've been warned. It's time for you to leave." The moment her hand made contact, the entire atmosphere in the lobby shifted. Gasps erupted. Jamal's phone caught the movement instantly. "She just grabbed her," he shouted, already uploading the clip to Reddit with a simple caption. "This is happening live at Horizon Luxe." Priya's live stream now had over 100 watchers, most of them flooding the chat with shock and disbelief. Daniela stepped forward, her voice shaking with restrained outrage. "You can't put your hands on a guest," she said sharply. "Her reservation is valid." Sarah spun around, eyes flashing. "You stay out of this if you want your job." But Daniela didn't back down. She looked at Maya, who still hadn't moved an inch, and took a small step closer to her. "I won't lie for you," she said to Marcus. That was the exact moment Marcus dropped all pretense. "She's trying to scam us," he hissed. People like her always think they can play the system. His tone was lower now, more venomous, but the words reached the ears of at least 3 guests standing nearby. One of them, a gray-haired woman holding her phone just a little higher, said to no one in particular, "I can't believe what I'm hearing." Another, a man in a navy suit, leaned toward Priya's stream and said, "You getting all this?" Priya nodded. "All of it." In the center of this storm stood Maya, still perfectly still. She brought her phone back to her ear. "Jade," she said calmly, "escalate the internal system. Begin audit documentation. I want every word logged from this point forward." Jade's voice was crisp. "Understood. Time-stamped and recorded." "Do you want Carla on standby?" Maya replied. "Give me 1 more minute." As she said it, Tyler leaned in over the desk and shouted loud enough to be heard by the far wall. "You're a fraud, lady. You think a card gets you in here? Go back to wherever you came from." A chorus of murmurs rose from the lobby. Daniela was now fully out from behind the concierge podium, standing shoulder to shoulder with Maya. "I've worked here for 3 years, she said, her voice firm, "and I've seen this pattern before. Every time a guest like her walks in, alone, confident, dressed down, you treat them like criminals." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "And every time someone questions it," Daniela continued, "you say it's policy, but it's not. It's you." Backstory seeped into Maya's mind. She was 16, dressed in her Sunday clothes, waiting in a hotel lobby in Charlotte. Her parents were late. A clerk walked up to her and said, "This area is for guests only." She tried to explain, but the woman didn't listen. She was escorted to the sidewalk like a loiterer. The shame stayed in her bones for years. It didn't make her small. It made her sharp. It made her build. Marcus wasn't finished. He turned toward Daniela. "Enough! I want her out now, or I'll have security escort both of you." Sarah, who'd been silent since Jamal started filming again, added quickly. She refused to provide valid ID. "This is a breach. I'm reporting it." But the tension was already turning against them. Priya, still filming, turned the camera toward her own face. "Just to be clear," she said, "we're watching a guest be harassed by hotel staff after providing her name, card, and ID. And now they're physically trying to remove her. This is not just bad service. This is disgusting." Maya turned to Tyler, her voice no louder than before. "Return my card now." Tyler leaned over the counter, smirking. "Or what?" Maya's eyes didn't move. "Or you'll be locked out of the Horizon system for life. No employment, no references, no appeal." Sarah snorted. "You don't speak for Horizon." But Daniela spoke up immediately. "She does." Marcus's voice snapped like a whip. "You're out of line, Daniela. You don't even know who she is." Jamal interjected from the side. "Oh, she does. We all do." He turned the camera back to Maya. "Look at how she's standing. Look at how calm she is. That's not someone begging for service. That's someone letting you dig your own grave." Maya's voice stayed steady. "Tyler, one last chance." Tyler looked unsure for the first time. Marcus tried to salvage the moment. "This isn't about anything personal. It's about protocol." But his words came too late. Jamal and Priya's videos were already spreading, and guests were whispering about what they'd just seen. One man said, "I've stayed here for years. Never again." A young woman holding a carry-on suitcase turned to Daniela and asked, "Is she really who I think she is?" Daniela didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Then, the twist that shifted the lobby's temperature completely. Daniela stepped forward, voice louder now. This isn't the first time Marcus ignored complaints like this. He's been warned. I logged 3 of them last month. 2 from solo women of color. All dismissed. Marcus's face flushed red. "That's a lie." Priya swung the camera toward him. "You sure?" Maya looked around slowly. Every phone was raised now. Every guest paying attention. She said to no one in particular, but loud enough for every person to hear. Your time running this place unchecked is over. Marcus tried one more desperate move. Fine. If you won't leave, I'll call the cops myself. Maya smiled. Please do. And for a moment, Marcus hesitated because, for the first time, he saw something in her face that unsettled him. Not fear, not uncertainty. Power, controlled, silent, and far beyond his reach. Guests began to move, subtly but deliberately, stepping between Maya and the front desk. They didn't know her name yet, but they knew enough. One woman rolled her suitcase directly into Sarah's path. Another man pulled his phone charger from the desk outlet and stood beside Daniela. Priya turned her phone around, capturing the growing crowd. They're protecting her now, she said into the stream. Maya, still in the center, took a single step forward and said one sentence. This lobby belongs to me. The words didn't shout. They didn't need to. Tyler's smirk faltered. Sarah looked down. Marcus blinked. And in that split-second silence, the lobby, once hostile, began to turn. How would you have responded if someone tried to push you out of a hotel you owned? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Throw her out now. Marcus's voice cracked across the marble lobby like a gavel, desperate to regain control that had already slipped through his fingers. The lobby wasn't quiet anymore. Phones were raised. Whispers were now open protests. But Marcus, red-faced and trembling with authority he no longer truly held, pressed forward anyway. She's trespassing. She's a liar, he bellowed. He turned toward the intercom and slammed his hand down on the button. Tyler's voice crackled across the entire lobby speaker system. To all staff, unauthorized individual in the lobby, do not engage. Repeat, do not engage with this guest. Fraud alert. The moment the announcement ended, the silence that followed was heavier than the words themselves. Maya didn't flinch, but the guests did. Jamal shouted from the corner, "She's not a fraud. We're recording everything." His voice trembled, not with fear, but with fury. Priya's live stream view count had jumped past 2,000. Comments rolled in like waves. That's theft. Unreal. How is this happening in a luxury hotel? A mother with her teenage daughter backed away from the check-in line, whispering, "They're going to regret this." Meanwhile, Sarah, shaken but still following Marcus's lead, grabbed Maya's arm again and yanked her toward the exit. "Let's go. You're embarrassing yourself," she hissed through clenched teeth. That was when Daniela stepped between them. Physically the youngest staff member in the room, the only one to speak up consistently, she stood shoulder to shoulder with Maya. "Don't touch her again," she said loud and clear. Sarah froze. "You'll be fired," she spat. Daniela didn't back down. "Then fire me," she snapped. "But you're not putting your hands on her." Marcus surged forward, his frustration boiling over. "Do you even know who she is?" he barked at Daniela. "She's a fraud. Look at her." He gestured at Maya's hoodie, her jeans, her sneakers, like it all proved something. "People who stay in penthouse suites don't look like that." Maya's voice was quiet, measured. "You keep saying that word, fraud, like it'll make your mistake disappear." She took one small step forward. The distance between them closed like a noose tightening around Marcus's narrative. At 29, Maya had flown into Los Angeles for a conference. She'd been wearing a navy pantsuit, professional but not extravagant. The man behind the desk had looked at her ID, then at her, then again at the card. "This can't be you," he'd said. "We'll need a second form of ID." She provided one, then another, but they still made her wait while verifying for 2 hours. Meanwhile, she watched 3 white men walk in and get suites without even showing ID. That night, she drafted the policy she would later implement in her own hotels. Zero tolerance for guest profiling. That moment lived in her bones. And now, so did this one. Get security, Marcus barked at Tyler, who had stepped away from the desk and now hovered near the office hallway uncertain. Call them in now. But Tyler hesitated. His confidence had cracked because in front of him stood not a woman begging for entry, but someone who knew something he didn't. And worse, guests were watching. Jamal's phone moved from face to face, capturing every twitch of guilt, every flinch of power. Priya turned toward a guest standing nearby. "Sir, what are you seeing here?" The man replied without hesitation. "I see someone getting thrown out of a hotel she clearly belongs in." Marcus spun. "That's slander. She hasn't proven anything." Maya calmly turned her phone toward the crowd. "Would anyone like proof?" Jamal immediately called out, "Show them." But she didn't lift a badge or pull out a contract. Instead, she turned to Daniela and asked softly, "Do you see my name in the reservation system?" Daniela nodded. "Yes, it's under Ellison penthouse. Checked in remotely." "And is the VIP tag attached to it?" Maya continued. Daniela nodded again. "Yes, marked as executive level override, owner level clearance." The lobby fell quiet. Marcus's eyes darted. That could have been faked. She could have hacked in. Jamal snapped. "You really think someone walked in off the street, hacked your system, and brought 2,000 witnesses with them?" Sarah, suddenly pale, looked down at the floor. Tyler stepped forward hesitantly. "I locked the card in the safe under your instruction, Marcus. What if we're wrong?" Maya turned toward him. "You were told to steal from me. That's what you did. But you had a choice." Tyler's mouth opened, then shut again. Then the crowd shifted. A guest, an older woman with white hair and a floral scarf, moved forward. She positioned herself between Maya and Sarah and said simply, "You're not laying a hand on her again." Another man joined, then a woman with a stroller. Within seconds, a loose half-circle had formed in front of Maya, as if the guests themselves had drawn a boundary. Marcus stood behind the desk, suddenly looking much smaller than he had moments ago. Maya looked around at the human barrier that had risen without her asking. "This is what happens," she said softly, "when silence stops being an option." Priya turned her phone to the crowd. "They're standing with her now," she said into the camera. "And I don't think they're going anywhere." Marcus's desperation hit its peak. He shouted over the lobby noise, "You're all being manipulated. She's playing you." And then Tyler, still holding the intercom mic, whispered something barely audible, but the whole lobby heard it as it echoed through the speakers. "She owns the place, doesn't she?" It hung in the air like smoke. Jamal slowly panned his phone toward Maya's face. "Do you?" he asked, breathless. Daniela stepped forward. "She does." Gasps rippled across the room. A man near the lounge chairs whispered, "Wait, this is her hotel." Sarah turned to Marcus in horror. "You said she was lying." Marcus didn't speak. Priya looked into her lens. This is the moment everything changed. Maya stepped forward again, now past Daniela, past the half-circle of guests, right up to the front desk where Marcus stood frozen. "You wanted me out," she said evenly. "You framed me. You called me a thief. And you humiliated me in my own lobby." Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. From her phone, Jade's voice came through loud and clear. "Maya, Carla is ready. Do you want me to patch her through?" Maya's eyes didn't leave Marcus's. "Yes, right now." She tapped the screen once, and Carla Bennett's voice, sharp and deliberate, came through the speaker. "Maya, everything's prepared. We're standing by for your authorization." Maya took a breath. "Terminate Marcus Holt. Terminate Sarah Bennett. Terminate Tyler Nguyen. Immediate removal from the Horizon system. Freeze their access credentials and log today's incident for legal audit." A beat of silence. "Confirmed," Carla said. "Processing now." And in that instant, Marcus's access badge buzzed red. So did Sarah's. So did Tyler's. They were locked out live in front of every guest. No shouting, no theatrics, just justice. Quiet, complete, irreversible. What would you have done if you witnessed this? Let us know in the comments below. Marcus Holt's last shred of composure shattered the moment his access badge buzzed red. He stared at it, stunned, like it had betrayed him. Tyler's face drained of color as his own badge blinked the same error, locking him out of the Horizon system in real time. Sarah froze, lips slightly parted, still gripping the edge of the counter, as if hanging on would somehow keep her job from vanishing beneath her feet. But the lobby had already shifted. What once felt like a theater of dominance now pulsed with rebellion. Daniela Ortiz, no longer the silent concierge, stood tall beside Maya, her jaw tight, her voice steady. "They've been removed," she said loud enough for every guest to hear. "They don't speak for Horizon anymore." Marcus erupted. "This is illegal. You can't just... This isn't how hotels operate." He turned to Sarah, desperate. "Call corporate. Get someone on the line now." But Sarah's hands trembled as she checked her phone. "Blocked. Horizon's internal system has shut down my staff login credentials. I'm locked out," she whispered, panic blooming across her face. "Everything's gone." Tyler tried to step toward the safe to retrieve Maya's card, but Daniela raised her hand. "Stop right there," she commanded. "You're no longer authorized to handle guest property. Step away from the counter." Tyler hesitated, then backed off slowly. And then the final push. Marcus, boiling in embarrassment, lashed out in the worst way possible. "Do you really think this circus makes you a leader?" he snarled at Maya. "You tricked your way in. You humiliated us in public. You'll be sued for this." But his voice cracked, just slightly, when he said it. He was no longer in control, and he knew it. Maya, still calm, tilted her head slightly. "You think leadership is about hiding things, Marcus? Manipulating perception?" She gestured to the guests around them. "Leadership is when people who've been ignored for too long finally speak up, and they're heard." A woman in the crowd raised her voice. "You never took my complaints seriously last spring," she said. "I emailed about an incident at check-in, and no one followed up. You were the one who responded and dismissed it." Marcus turned sharply to see her face, then looked away, recognizing her. Another voice. "I was charged twice for a room and got no response until I threatened legal action." A man chimed in from behind the lounge chairs. "I asked for an ADA-compliant room and was told none were available. Then watched someone else check in and get one." One by one, guest voices became a chorus of past slights and denied accountability. Daniela stepped forward again, now emboldened by truth and consequence. "I logged 3 complaints in the last 2 months alone about biased behavior at the front desk. They were dismissed every time." Marcus signed off on the dismissals himself. Sarah backed up until she hit the wall, eyes darting between guests and her former coworkers. "Marcus, what is this?" she whispered. They're turning on us." Marcus's voice was now reduced to a whimper. "They're just angry. This will blow over." But it didn't. It grew. Priya panned her live stream across the lobby. "This is what a reckoning looks like," she said to her viewers. Then the moment that cemented it all. Jamal pulled up his Reddit post, now viral. Hundreds of comments, dozens of reposts, screenshots of Tyler's intercom announcement, the quote, "This card is now company property." Beneath it, a clip of Sarah grabbing Maya's arm. Another of Marcus yelling, "People like her don't belong here." It was spreading like wildfire. "It's out there now," Jamal said aloud. "Everyone's seeing it." Marcus's desperation snapped again. He lunged toward the counter, shouting, "Delete that. That's private property." But 2 guests stepped in his path. One of them, a quiet man with reading glasses and a messenger bag, simply said, No, you don't get to silence this. The other guest, the elderly woman in the floral shawl, held out her phone. Your face is already online. Might want to think twice before making another threat. That was the tipping point. Sarah turned to Maya, her voice shaking. I didn't know, she said. I didn't mean for this to happen. Maya didn't nod. She didn't offer comfort. She simply said, you helped make it happen. You watched it happen. And then Marcus did something no one expected. He turned to Maya, his voice ragged, shoulders slumping. Why didn't you say who you were? He asked. You set us up. Maya blinked. No, I gave you every opportunity to treat me like any other guest. That was the test, and you failed it publicly. That was when Jade's voice returned, now on speaker through Maya's phone. Maya, the board's authorized full incident response. Carla's ready for your next steps. Maya looked across the lobby, scanning every stunned face. Every guest still holding a phone, still bearing witness. Patch her through. Carla Bennett's voice, crisp and measured, filled the air. Marcus Holt, Sarah Bennett, Tyler Nguyen, effective immediately. Your employment with Horizon Hospitality Group is terminated. Your access has been revoked. Legal documentation is being prepared. Dr. Ellison will supervise next steps directly. The weight of the words hit like thunder. Tyler tried one last protest. This is insane. We built this place. But Maya cut him off. You built nothing. You guarded the door and turned away the very people we claim to serve. She turned to Daniela. Please unlock the safe. Retrieve my card. Daniela moved efficiently, professionally. She entered a new code, her own, and opened the safe. Maya's black card lay untouched, pristine. Daniela handed it back without a word, but her eyes were glassy with emotion. Then came the guests. One by one, they began clapping. Not loud, not chaotic, but purposeful, measured, as if acknowledging something overdue. Maya looked out over them and spoke, not with anger, but with certainty. This wasn't just about me. This was about every guest who was told their presence was a problem, about every complaint that disappeared, every policy used to humiliate instead of serve. That ends today. Marcus, Sarah, and Tyler stood behind the counter, stripped of title, of power, of audience, and yet the consequences had only begun. Maya turned back to her assistant through the phone. Jade, we're proceeding with full lobby-level reform. Prepare the statement and elevate Daniela Ortiz's status. She'll be leading this location. Yes, ma'am, Jade replied. And with that, Maya Ellison stepped forward. No longer mistaken, no longer anonymous. She had just taken her hotel back, one decision at a time. But the story didn't end there. The moment the glass doors sealed shut behind Marcus, Sarah, and Tyler, the energy in the Horizon Luxe lobby shifted from confrontation to transformation. Guests stood quietly, absorbing what they had just witnessed. A top-down reckoning carried out not behind closed doors, but right in front of them. Maya, still composed in her gray hoodie and jeans, didn't pause. She turned to Daniela, now elevated from concierge to acting general manager, and gave a clear directive. Initiate the reform plan. Start from the top. Daniela nodded and immediately began shutting down the existing reservation system, disabling every user login associated with the terminated staff. Done, she confirmed within moments. Maya pulled out her phone. Jade, she said firmly, send out the internal alert. Notify regional compliance, diversity operations, and legal. I want a full audit of Horizon Luxe's last 18 months. Guest complaints, staff conduct records, and suppression logs. Jade's reply was instant. Already in motion. The media's circling, but your voice is front and center. Carla's preparing the rollout briefing. Guests began to approach Daniela, many speaking softly, unsure if it was appropriate to offer support. One woman, clutching a reservation confirmation printout, whispered, "Thank you. I was scared to speak earlier." Daniela smiled gently. "We're listening now." In the corner, Priya's live stream showed steady growth, now past 10,000 viewers, with the caption updated to, "CEO reclaims hotel, fires entire staff in lobby." Real-time reform. Comments flooded the screen. Jamal, now quiet for the first time since he began recording, approached Maya with his phone lowered. "Do you want me to keep posting?" he asked. Maya nodded. "Only truth. That's all I care about." Then she turned to the crowd. For years, Horizon Hospitality promised inclusion, but policies mean nothing if bias is ignored behind the desk. Today, that changes. She looked to Daniela again. "Reassign all staff training to begin within 72 hours. We'll bring in an independent firm, and every employee, front desk, concierge, management, will undergo recertification. No grandfather clauses. No excuses." As Maya spoke, Carla's voice came through on speaker once more. "We've approved your full reform plan. Local media is requesting a statement. We've confirmed your authority to implement procedural suspension of current operations for guest safety." Maya replied, "Then suspend front desk bookings temporarily. Daniela will manually handle VIP guests. Others will be redirected to our downtown partner location with a complimentary night." She turned to Daniela. "You okay with that load?" Daniela gave a single, steady nod. "More than okay." Around them, guests no longer looked like spectators. They looked like supporters. One man offered to help with luggage. A couple volunteered to pass out water bottles to waiting guests. From confrontation had grown cohesion. The lobby had become something different now. Part recovery room, part headquarters. And then came the twist that hardened Maya's calm into something sharper. A notification pinged on her screen, an internal flag from compliance. She opened it quietly, scanning the summary, her jaw set as she read. Then she lifted her eyes and said to no one in particular, "Marcus didn't act alone." The lobby paused again. Carla's voice returned in her earpiece, this time lower, urgent. "We've pulled Horizon Luxe's archived complaint records. Marcus submitted false summaries to regional headquarters. Complaints that were marked resolved were never investigated. And we found communications between him and former regional director Vanessa Klein." Maya's voice dropped colder now. Klein retired 3 months ago under a cloud of HR violations. No one looked deeper because they said she was just old-fashioned. Jade's voice came in. "Turns out she protected Marcus. Sarah, too." There was a pattern. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, not to escape, but to steady herself. Then she opened them, crystal clear with resolve. "We're not just reforming this location," she said. "We're initiating a full Horizon-wide review. Every flagged employee, every buried complaint, every fake resolution." She turned to Priya, who was still filming. "You can show this part," she said. "People need to know that rot starts from the root, and we're digging it out." The guests around her nodded. Some looked stunned, others relieved. One woman in her 70s whispered, "I've waited years to see someone in charge actually do something." Jamal turned to his stream. "We came for a vacation," he said, "but we witnessed a revolution." Maya glanced around the lobby. She didn't see walls and marble anymore. She saw a symbol of what hospitality could be, and what it had failed to protect for far too long. "This hotel was never broken because of its decor or design," she said. "It was broken because people were trained to smile at some guests and interrogate others." Her eyes moved across the room. "That era ends today, and the rebuilding began." 3 months later, the Horizon Luxe Hotel no longer resembled the place where Maya Ellison had been humiliated in front of dozens of strangers. Guests walked in and out without fear of being second-guessed based on appearance, accent, or attire. A framed portrait of Maya now hung near the check-in desk, not for vanity, but for accountability. Beneath it, a plaque read, "This space belongs to every guest, no exceptions." Behind the desk stood Daniela Ortiz, now permanently appointed general manager, not just as recognition of courage, but because she redefined what leadership looked like at Horizon. The reform Maya implemented rippled far beyond Seattle. Horizon Hospitality Group launched a sweeping initiative, auditing all 62 of its properties across the U.S. Dozens of previously ignored complaints resurfaced, and new staff-wide training protocols were enforced company-wide. Each hotel adopted a new equity compliance panel, rotating guest advisors, anonymous feedback systems, and zero-tolerance enforcement with real accountability. As for the guests who had witnessed the incident that day, they received personal letters of thanks and follow-up calls, not from public relations interns, but from Maya herself. "You stood when others looked away," one message read. "That matters." Jamal Carter and Priya Sharma, whose live streams had ignited national media coverage without a single hashtag, were invited to speak at Horizon's Internal Leadership Summit, where they emphasized the power of real-time accountability. "We didn't set out to expose anything," Jamal had said on stage. "We just refused to put our phones down." But even as the company transformed, the past refused to stay buried. 1 week after the incident, Maya received a quiet message from a former hotel manager in Portland, a man who had worked under Marcus years before. His voice low with guilt, he confessed something that cast everything in a darker light. Marcus wasn't just following his own bias, he admitted. There was a quiet directive from regional leadership, Klein's era. They wanted certain guests treated as non-priority if they didn't match the profile. It wasn't on paper, but we all knew. Maya didn't respond with anger. She thanked him for telling the truth and passed the statement to Carla and the legal team. But that single admission revealed the final twist in the story. The Horizon Luxe scandal had never been about one man abusing his power. It was about a system that had quietly enabled it. As news of the confession spread, former employees from other branches began to speak up. An internal Horizon task force was formed to reinvestigate staff dismissed under questionable circumstances. Several were reinstated, others received settlements. Maya made sure no one was hired or fired again without a paper trail. And every new manager went through direct accountability orientation. "It takes more than policies to rebuild trust," she told her board. "It takes proof that silence won't be rewarded and that telling the truth won't cost you your job." Maya's own legacy shifted. Once known as a discreet billionaire who built a hospitality empire from grit and strategy, she was now publicly celebrated as a reformer. Not because she sought the spotlight, but because she had finally stepped into it to make change permanent. She launched a new division within Horizon, Horizon Forward, a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative focused not on slogans, but measurable outcomes. Under its first act, Daniela Ortiz was named National Advisor for Frontline Guest Experience. And at the end of the inaugural summit, Maya said the words that guests, staff, and survivors of silent discrimination across the country would never forget. Hospitality doesn't begin with the smile you give. It begins with the respect you assume. The audience rose to their feet, not because a CEO had spoken, but because a woman once pushed toward the exit had turned around and opened the door for everyone else. If you believe everyone deserves respect, share this story. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and speak up when silence is no longer an option.